342, 30339, 30338, 30327, 30319, and finally 30092. The zip codes refer to the zone improvement plan, which the USPS put in place in 1963. And so those zip codes refer to the region where the post office facility services those addresses. So when the city was formed in 2005, we inherited those zip codes that have been in place for that time. So again, we have 8 total in our municipal boundaries. And these all have a recommended city name for addresses within each of those zip codes, which is currently the City of Atlanta. In 2010, the city made a request for USPS to change the default last line for all zip codes crossing municipal boundaries between Atlanta and the city of Sandy Springs to be Sandy Springs with all of those zip codes in our city boundaries. At the time, the USPS required businesses to approve this request, so we had to have 80% of the businesses in the city agree to this change and more than half of the residents. Some of you may remember that voting process took place in 2012, but it did not move forward due to some opposition. In 2016, USPS instituted management instruction in guiding USPS to really work with USPS policies to make sure that they can, when able, modify and accommodate those requests for zip code boundaries to change within the last line of USPS addresses. In 2020, the city made a request again, but that the USPS that changed the default preferred last line, but this did not move forward due to the pandemic and other factors. And just last year, another reason why we're bringing this forward today, is the city of Johns Creek was successful in uniting their zip codes and the preferred last lines within their municipal boundaries. So there are several impacts of our current zip codes within the city of Sandy Springs, and I just want to be clear that we are not requesting that there are any zip codes within the city that are changed. We are rather asking USPS to align the zip codes with the preferred last line for Sandy Springs. So some of those current impacts can be the potential delays within emergency response for police and fire, for service delivery, as well as our community programs like our paramedicine program. Tax attribution errors is another one. As you know, Atlanta's tax rate is higher than the city of Sandy Springs. And there are many companies that use software that use to calculate the tax revenue on purchases, and that is based on zip codes. So sometimes it happens when there are wrong city taxes attributed to online purchases. Some of these online systems that large companies and small and mid-sized companies use are expensive to install or to update, and so there have been even large companies that have been found to have incorrect charged Atlanta sales tax to Sandy Springs residents. Public confusion about jurisdiction is another impact of the current zip code and preferred last line. These days, people get around using Google Maps and Waze and mapping software such as those scrape data from ArcGIS as well as Esri and other mapping sources, and Esri will only use the USPS city, which is currently Atlanta. That can cause confusion for people when they're looking to go to somewhere in Sandy Springs, but an Atlanta address pops up. Additionally, branding and community identity concerns are high on the list. The city just recently marked 2 decades of incorporation, which is quite an achievement, yet we are still recognized Atlanta in our zip code. So this undermines our efforts for city brand awareness and civic pride. Additionally, our economic development department spends a great deal of time, money, and resources to be able to retain and bring new businesses to Sandy Springs. And when they are doing that under the Select Sandy Springs brand, although site selection lists Atlanta as the address, it can cause confusion, as you might see. I do want to mention that there is no impact to USPS or our residents or businesses. So people will not need to update their mailing information or stationery. If somebody still lists the Atlanta address, that will be delivered correctly, and there will be no issues or delays in the USPS process. Objectives of the zip code boundary review. We are hoping to align the city zip codes with our city name, and that will help to improve address accuracy, reinforce our municipal identity for the city of Sandy Springs, save residents sales tax and information and money in their property taxes. As you know, we are ISO rated 1 for our fire department, which is a great tax break for those in the city of Sandy Springs. So we want to make sure that people are getting those breaks. And we also want to make sure that the city receives proper recognition and where applicable revenue associated with commerce in the city. In terms of what this process looks like, the mayor has requested this formal review as of this month, and the district manager is to review all of the issues, potential costs, and solutions, quantify any sort of operational impacts and feasibility of our request, and then get back to us within 60 days with their final determination. In this process, we're also reaching out to elected officials at the state level to get some support behind our efforts, which we've seen some success with the city of Johns Creek. And so if USPS considers granting this request, they will arrange a meeting with us after that 60-day process to discuss their accommodation to that request. And that's it.
All right, you've heard the report of the Communications and Public Relations Director. Are there any questions? Mr. Paulson, then Ms. Mueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. So how did Johns Creek do this?
Exactly,
did you get the details of it?
Exactly the same process. Yes, sir. So we reached out to the city of Johns Creek to understand how they are successful in this, and so they did much of the same. So official request for the boundary review, USPS granted them with 3 options. This option with the changing of the preferred last line was the best option for them, and so that's what they're moving forward with.
Did they have to do the 80% agreement deal?
They did not. That was not a requirement for them at this time.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Mueller?
So a question, are we going to do any kind of communication outside of this meeting to residents about this process?
That's certainly something we've done in the past. I think in the past, USPS has requested that we get 50% of the residents on board with this. Since that's not a determination this time, I think it's important for the public to know, which is, a reason why I'm here tonight, that we are looking to do this, but no sort of campaign to garner votes or anything of that nature.
Okay, I just meant, are you going to be posting something on Facebook about this?
Sure.
That was kind of, I'm sorry.
Well, the average resident's not going to see any change.
Right.
What will happen is if you order something from Amazon, rather than it automatically filling in Atlanta, it'll put in Sandy Springs.
Yeah.
If you want to override it and put in Atlanta, and a lot of businesses, and I get it, major corporations like Mercedes, Newell, they want to be able to retain that Atlanta designation because more people know about Atlanta globally than they do Sandy Springs. We're in the process of changing that, but for now, it's an issue. So it's right now you can forcibly enter Sandy Springs and your mail gets there just the same. So it's just switching which one pops up first.
Just people are going to, I think, appreciate this. A lot of people always ask this question, so I think this is great. Is there any indication of the tax implications if we're going to be getting money that we didn't used to get? It's probably hard to estimate that.
I think it's very difficult to calculate.
It would be virtually impossible for us to calculate that, although, we have consistently tried to inform our residents, make sure you select Sandy Springs so that you as an individual are paying a lower tax rate than what it defaults to when it goes to Atlanta.
We did a communications plan several years ago when this came back up, with Zip It Up Sandy Springs, where we did encourage people to use the correct name of the city for that same reason.
Yeah, I think this is
great. Well, the
great.
Department of Revenue has been reluctant to break out that information. They apportion it based on population, but if somebody's paid 8.7%?
I believe it's 8.9.
8.9% versus 7.75%. then it's likely, or at least possible, that that money, though it was expended in Sandy Springs and is due to come to us, at least for credit, then it might most likely goes to Atlanta if they're paying that rate, and it's an Atlanta address. The Department of Revenue doesn't spend a lot of time trying to figure out, is that correct? They just base it on what, it's self-reported, so they do it. So is there suspicion that we're losing revenue? Yes. Is there proof? Hard to come by. Anything else? Mr. Chinsky.
So I've heard some concerns from residents, not only about having Sandy Springs listed as their address, but about the actual zip code. Specifically on the western part of the city, there is an area that's 30339, think like Powers Ferry Landing, One River Place, and that's a predominantly Cobb County zip code. And I've had multiple people ask, can we change to 30328 or 30327? Is that potentially part of this project, or would that be a separate process?
The changing of a zip code is a little bit harder of a process, but similar in nature. I believe I attached in the documents. It should give some details to that, but I think that would be a more difficult process.
Any others? All right. Thank you, Ms. Sloan. Appreciate it. Just keep you up to date on where we're going. Are there any other city council items to be discussed during the work session? Mr. Paulson.
Just a comment. I got an email today from a resident in District 1, which is a letter from the City of Atlanta saying that the water system supply to her house may have lead in it, and it was really a strangely worded letter. And I'd heard this from somebody else. Has anybody else have you heard about other people getting this letter from City of Atlanta Water talking about lead in the water? And there's no specifics, there's no nothing. But do we know anything about this, and what can we share with the community out there? Otherwise, this person is worried.
Rightfully so. So a couple of months ago, the Atlanta Watershed Commissioner, I followed up with him because we had started hearing from some of our residents in the Mount Ayr Springs area that they were getting similar letters. I reached out, and they had provided, they being Atlanta Water, a database to state EPD, as they were required to, that was to identify locations that had pipes that either they had tested and confirmed that they did have lead, or they were unable to test and confirm, or they were inconclusive. I can try to dust that off and tell you a little bit more about it, but as of today, that's the first I've heard of any additional letters that have gone out. I do know that when I spoke with the Watershed Commissioner, he apologized for them not giving us a heads up that those letters would be coming out, part one. Part two, it is also not complete. They were waiting on feedback from EPD to determine what additional information they needed to provide. And again, I haven't heard anything new from him yet, but I'll follow up.
All right. Anything else? All right. With that, we will close the work session. I would like to call this meeting of the Sandy Springs City Council to order for Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026. Will the clerk please make the general announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a reminder to those in attendance to continue to silence all cell phones or other electronic devices at this time. Also a note, individuals who would like to provide public comment at a City Council meeting are required to complete and submit those public comment cards in advance of the meeting. Cards are always available online and at the chamber entrance. And those providing public comment may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on their single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul.
Present.
Councilmember John Paulson. Councilmember Melody Kelly. Here. Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Frank Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Mary Ford.
Here.
Councilmember Andrew Chinsky.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment cards?
Yes, we've received 2 public comment cards this evening. The first is from Manuel Fialco, who will be followed by Don Huffner.
Mr. Fialco.
Good evening. I'm Emmanuel Fialco. my address, 880 North Island Drive, and I'm the chair of the Sandy Springs Police Foundation. And I want to give you a quick update on how our calendar year 2025 ended and where we are right now. First off, as of this week, we have added 2 new board members. One, the CEO of a local real estate firm who's been a resident in the area for 50 years. And the other is head of security for one of our largest corporations in Sandy Springs. We are hosting a thank you event reception on February 22nd for everybody who donated, either regular donation or through the Less Crime Act. And no agenda other than just a thank you, and those people will be getting invitations. We are happy to announce our first large-scale event will be April 19th, surrounding Sandy Springs, City Springs here. We're going to have a car show, and it's going to be a very, very large event. We've hired a professional company that specializes this, and they're pretty much going to run everything, and the funds raised will go to the Sandy Springs Police Foundation. Ideal scenario. What we've learned from the previous year is that people view the Sandy Springs Police Foundation as a tax credit entity, meaning they wait until the last minute to pay their taxes, and so December was a big rush for us. So to alleviate that, we are reframing our ask starting this week in terms of this is a 501c3 charity that utilizes the money throughout the year, and as of this week, you can donate appreciated stock from your portfolio directly to our account. We've set one up at Morgan Stanley, and that way you don't have to pay the capital gains tax, and you get credit for a donation. And yes, by the way, you can get a tax credit for it. So we're reframing it to a charitable donation, which has the benefit of not paying appreciated capital gains tax, and yes, there are other benefits as well. Lastly, we ended calendar year 2025 with Less Crime Act tax credit donations exceeding $1.5 million, and that is more than twice what the previous year did. We also got $80,000 in regular citizen donations. Our goal for calendar year 2026, I say that because our fiscal year ends June 30th, our goal for calendar year 2026 is to double that, and we are very optimistic we will do double both of those. We will hit $3 million, which is the maximum for the Less Crime Act, and we can look into starting an additional one, and an additional law enforcement credit tax program, and we intend to raise at least $200,000 in other donations.
Thank you, Mr. Fialco. That's a great report. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Huffner.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Don Huffner, 9643 Roberts Drive. Tonight, you are considering the application for an ARC grant to fund the furthering of the North End Boulevard project. I have seen online the project scope under the plan for GDOT to execute, and there's a segment on Roberts Drive side path shown just east of Roswell Road where 10 to 8 foot wide path extends for the length of 5 or 6 homes on the north side of Roberts Drive. This is the same that we saw in October 24 during the open house my neighbors and I attended. We still don't have clarity on what will be executed by and with whom. We submitted comments expressing our concerns about the opposition to a north side execution of the side path, but to date we haven't heard feedback on how this will be addressed from those comments. The impacted Roberts Drive community needs your help and attention, consideration as it relates to the pedestrian connectivity on Roberts Drive will ultimately look like. It's counterintuitive in one respect to adopt policies in the comprehensive plan that ensure preservation of green space and natural environmental systems, and then for a project to not consider the hugely detrimental environmental impact of an 8, 10, and 12-foot wide side path on the north side of Roberts Drive. Matured trees, dense privacy screening, natural rock formations, significant topography requiring retaining walls, stream crossings, and other elements that once removed are absolutely irreplaceable, to say nothing of the cost to construct in the light of these elements. The loss of these features, having significant impact on privacy and quality of life along the corridor, is what we are most concerned about. Please ensure that the sensitive approach will be taken on the Roberts Drive as to preserve what is irreplaceable. While choosing the south side of Roberts Drive for the path does have some impacts. They are not dwarfed, or they are dwarfed by the comparison that would be lost on the north side. Roberts Drive cannot be compared to, say, Mount Vernon, the east side of this building. They're just not the same. Again, we are asking for your help and consideration to make the most and the best sensitive choice for a green and ideally corridor that is Roberts Drive today. I thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Huffner. Any others? All right, we will close the public comment period. Moving to the next item, we need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of the meeting agenda for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026.
Have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on approval of the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul,
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ford. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to new business, the clerk will please read the first item.
This is agenda item number 2026-16, consideration of a resolution to declare a surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of the same. This is presented by purchasing buyer Erica Kelly.
Ms. Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here to request approval to declare...
Pull it down just a little bit more, if you will. There you go.
Thank you. I'm here today to declare and request approval for certain city-owned items that are surplus. That is outlined in the Exhibit A that was presented for the agenda. The items originated from the police, fleet, and public works departments that are no longer in need for city operations. So each department, they have identified various equipment, materials, and other obsolete items that are no longer cost-effective to maintain or otherwise unnecessary for continued use in the city operations. These items will either be donated, recycled, or auctioned off based on their condition and suitability for reuse. Per the city purchasing policy, Section 2-334 of the Code of Ordinance, all departments are required to report obsolete or unneeded goods to the purchasing agent. Once the City Council declares them as surplus, the city manager, with oversight from legal and finance, will direct their appropriate dispositions, whether it's auction, donating, recycling, trade-in, or other lawful means. All items are used and will be sold or disposed of as is, with no warranty expressed or implied, and represents limited residual value to the city. We recommend approval and proceed with their removal, which will help us manage resources more effectively and responsibly. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. You've heard the report of the buyer for the city. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-016, declaring surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of same.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve agenda item 2026-016, a resolution declaring as surplus certain property owned by the city. Any discussion? Dr. Kelly.
Hey, thank you for the presentation. A couple of quick questions. 701 Morgan Falls Road. What is that an address for? Is that maybe another address for the police department, or I just know?
I believe so, but I
Okay.
won't.
I was just curious. I saw it.
No worries.
Also, do you have a sense now of how the street signage will be disposed of?
From what I was told, that is going to be thrown away. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I know there's various street signs in various conditions. So right now, it's kind of being held, but it's all piled together.
Okay, so no chance they'll be recycled? Probably not. Okay.
I can check with Public Works, but I do believe that they are going to get rid of them.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-016, resolution declaring a surplus certain property owned by the city. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2026-17, consideration of a resolution to authorize the donation of surplus K-9 vehicle to Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office, presented by Sandy Springs Police Department Captain Andrew Spears.
Captain Spears.
Mayor, council, good evening. This is a request to donate a surplus K-9 vehicle to the Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office. This vehicle is in need of some big repairs to it. Lumpkin County will take this vehicle off our hands for us, and we request the donation to them.
All right, you've heard the report of the police captain. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-17, resolution to authorize the donation of a surplus K-9 vehicle to the Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve agenda item 2026-017, a resolution authorizing donation of a surplus K-9 vehicle to Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office. Any discussion? Dr. Kelly.
All right, one question for you, Captain.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a formal process where counties can request donations, or how do we decide where a given vehicle gets donated?
It goes both ways, really. We have had jurisdictions ask us that, hey, if we ever come across any items that we look to get rid of, that they'd be in the market for it. So we communicate with them, and also there's times that we reach out to a lot of our partners that we may know may be in need of, a lot of these ones that we tend to partner with,
Okay.
aren't as financially stable as some other places.
Okay, so you guys have a lot of partners that are smaller budgets, et cetera.
We do. We across this state and many connecting states as well.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-017, a resolution authorizing the donation of a surplus K-9 vehicle to the Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-18, consideration of a resolution to award fiscal year 2026 nonprofit arts and recreation programs contracts to authorize the city manager to execute the agreements. This is presented by Recreation and Parks Director Brent Walker.
Mr. Walker.
Evening, Mayor and Council. The city created the Nonprofit Arts and Recreational Fund to collaborate with nonprofit organizations that offer new programming or to expand eligible existing recreational programs targeted at underserved populations and low-income communities within the city. In previous years, two types of grants were offered, a Category 1 grant for partial funding of the previous year's grant and a Category 2 grant for new programs. For this current grant cycle, the city elected to simplify the process by removing the categories and allowing applicants to apply for the maximum of $15,000 for either an existing program or a new program. City Council appropriated $200,000 for this program in the 2026 budget. On October 21st, 2025, the city issued RFP 26-013 to solicit responses from qualified nonprofit organizations. On November 19th, the city received 11 proposals, totaling a total request of $162,324. The list of applicants and the programs they provide is shown in the agenda memo. Inside Out Consulting, LLC, and Jumpstart Gymnasium Foundation Nonprofit Corporation were deemed ineligible as they are for-profit companies. And Heal Thy Lineage was deemed ineligible due to not providing adequate financial documentation that is required as part of the grant application process. The 8 other applicants were scored by the review committee based on the criteria as shown in the agenda item memo and deemed eligible for a contract award. The total recommended award amount for the program is $113,400. With that, I open it up to any questions you may have.
All right, you've heard the report of the Director of Recreation and Parks. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul?
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-018, a resolution to award fiscal year 2026 nonprofit arts and recreation program contracts and to authorize the city manager to execute the agreements.
We have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Kelly, seconded by Ms. Ford, that we approve agenda item 2026-018, the resolution awarding fiscal year 2026 nonprofit arts and recreation program contracts and authorize city manager to execute the agreements. Any discussion?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly.
Mr. Walker, can you walk me through the timeline for this? So let's assume we'll approve tonight, and then what happens after that? I'm curious when organizations will actually receive funds and.
So if you approve all of them tonight, it will then go to our purchasing department. They will draft the contracts, submit them out for signature from the nonprofits. It'll then be returned to the city as quickly as that can satisfy all the contract terms as far as insurance and all those requirements. It'll be tracked through signature process to the city, and then we will send it to our finance department to cut the checks.
And
So,
do the
could be
funds
30
need to be
days.
spent by June 30th?
No, so they have till the end of the year, December 15th. Several of these programs are not just summer camps, they're school programs as well that can go into the fall semester. And so they have until December 15th of 2026 to finish the program and submit all of their reporting for this grant cycle.
Okay, thanks. Last question. There appears to be an excess of just under, I guess, $90,000. And I have a couple of questions about that.
Sure.
One, how does the timeline for this year compare to last year?
So this year, we got the RFP out sooner. In years past, we've put it out on the street much later in the year or even into the beginning of the next year.
Right.
So this year, we wanted to make sure that we got the funds to them as quickly as possible at the beginning of the calendar year, because a lot of these, again, are spring semester programs, or if they're a summer camp, most agencies, including us, are advertising their summer camps now. And so it's important that they know if they're going to get funding so they can hire the staff they need, buy the materials they need, so that they can realize the program.
Okay, so I did receive some feedback that the change in the timeline, even though it was for a good reason, kind of threw off a couple of. I think if I recall correctly, the due date was November 19th. I think
That's
that was the
correct.
week before Thanksgiving or something around that time. And the question I have is, what would be the barrier for possibly having a second round?
I can
Even if-
certainly discuss that with city management and see how they
just
would proceed.
and even to my colleagues, we have a little bit of an access, and I do believe that some organizations generally miss the ball because they're used to a certain cadence, and I think they were maybe expecting December, and it kind of came and went for them. So maybe they'll have a shot, even if the bar is lower. Maybe the max isn't 15, but we could maybe at least get 5 or 6 more programs, local programs in the running. I don't know if anyone has thoughts. That's all I have.
Mr. Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, had a question about why this is so undersubscribed. Have you gotten feedback from others who said, I missed it, I wish I had done it differently, or what's your take on this? Because rarely do we have grant money like this that we're 90 G's under
Sure.
the amount of money. What's
So-
your take on this?
So we funded it more this year. We normally it was $150,000. This year we did 200 because we always, in the past, have always received more applications than we have funding for. I did hear back from one who has received a grant fund for the past 2 years, and to Dr. Kelly's point, they just missed the ball. They received the notification, laid it down, didn't go back to it, and missed the deadline. And in the past, we always felt like we were kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, getting it out on the street quick enough. But just because of the process it takes to get summer camps running and things like that, we wanted to make sure they weren't getting their checks March, April, when they've already made those plans. So we were trying to benefit the process by putting it out sooner. But I do think the change may have thrown some off. Now, we did notify everyone. We made sure that everyone that had received funding in the past got notification that the solicitation was posted. So we try to be fair and above board in how we do the process, but I think moving the calendar up a little bit threw some people off.
Ms. Mueller?
So I would support a second round as well for what Dr. Kelly suggested. If there are eligible nonprofits that were unable to participate, and if they have good programs, then they should be able to, I think, participate in the program and receive a grant. Is there any recommendation from staff on if we're in this situation again next time that we could make sure that the funds, or would we give more funds? Could we have a flexible cap? I don't know. Just something to think about so we don't have to go and do a second round. And then how will council be briefed on the performance of these nonprofits, these programs?
Sure. I'm happy to come back after the annual reports are finalized and brought to us at the end of the year and do a report to council in January of next year to show you how we wrapped up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chinsky.
So I will also echo Dr. Kelly's comments on a second round. Dollar for dollar, in my view, this is about the best use of money that we can use investing in our kids. And I think all of us have seen hands-on these programs in the past, and it's really just nice to support these wonderful nonprofits. In the future, to the extent you're not working with Civic Roundtable, maybe that's a way we can advertise this, some additional social media tools. Just one other comment. If you may already be planning to do this, but if not, talking to the grant award winners about the application process and soliciting feedback about what worked or maybe what could be streamlined for the future, just a suggestion.
Sure.
But thank you for doing this.
Mayor,
Mr. Lee.
I just want to quickly point out to the council that although we label this expenditure a grant, these are contracts. These parties have to produce a quid pro quo in exchange for the funding and the payment made by the city. And those compliance provisions are, as Brett just mentioned, is the report that he would make back to you. And it is a bidding process and not just a request for funding.
That's in order to stay in compliant with the gratuities clause of the Georgia Constitution? Is that okay? Dr. Kelly.
Yes, so just to add a little bit to the conversation, on the actual day that this was due, I received an email from an organization who had never applied before but indicated their interest, and they asked me, do you know of any grant programs? And I said, we have a grant program and it's due in like 3 hours. and luckily they're on this list. They made it, but just one of the questions I have for you is when you open the applications, are you guys keeping maybe an email list of organizations? Because that's what they expected. They thought they would receive at least an email. They're not a prior recipient, but they got it in, so I'm happy for them.
Sure. So to Councilman Chinsky's comment, we do work with Civic Roundtable to try to make sure that they know that the solicitation is posted so they can forward out it as well to organizations that are under their umbrella. We do send it out to all past applicants. Of course, we don't know all the nonprofits out there, so we try to and hope that through word of mouth that people are spreading the word that we do have the program. But we try to throw as wide a net as possible. We certainly want as many applications as we can get.
So I have a quick question about our procurement platform, Bonfire, I believe it is. Is there a way to set up to receive an alert in there? I should know, but I don't interface with it.
You can.
There is.
Okay. You can register. There's a process by which you can say what you want to be notified about. And so they can go in there and register as a user, and they'll get notifications.
Okay. Last question. As part of our contracts, as the city attorney put it, do we negotiate recognition of the city of Sandy Springs?
No, not that I'm aware of.
They
It's something to
can
consider.
recognize us?
Sure,
or-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not in the contract language itself.
Okay.
They usually do.
Many do.
Yeah,
I
they
just,
do.
I wondered if it was something we could include.
All right, any further discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
So I've had several councilmen offer the idea of going back out again for a second round. I'm normally not in favor of doing this, but we did change the date on this. So I'm not opposed to this. I guess my request is staff come back with a plan to go back out. And this is only because this date got changed. If it was the same old date as last time, I wouldn't be doing this. But let's go back out again. No more money than we originally allocated anyway. And let's see if somebody else comes. And then this is a one-time deal, but I'm interested in doing this because we did change it a little bit, and some people don't pick up on dates as quick as others. So
Sure.
I'm in favor of that.
Mayor, if I may.
Ms. Freeman.
Thank you. Just to clarify for everyone, we moved the date up at the request of the prior council because there was confusion with folks wanting to get this out as early as possible. We can absolutely put out another round. I would say let's use the exact same criteria. I don't want to change anything other than to say if you've received funding in session one, in round one, you are not eligible to apply, and keep everything exactly the same, and the pot remains at $90,000. Because my concern is if we wait to bring something back with a plan for you, then that will further delay it and cause us to get these funds out even further, because we really need to have the application period open for 30 days, which, Brent, as I recall, that's what we had this open before.
That's correct.
So that would be my recommendation right now if there is an interest in spending the remaining $90,000.
Any objection? So ordered.
Okay.
All right, any further comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-018, a resolution to award fiscal year 2026 nonprofit arts and recreation program contracts, authorizing city manager to execute the agreements. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to the next item.
Thank you, Mayor.
Clerk, please read the item.
This is agenda item number 2026-19, consideration of a resolution to approve the supplemental project framework agreement number 1 to the original project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for the design of Roswell Road North End Boulevard project. That's S2105, PI 0019793, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and council, good evening. Originally, the city did receive its first project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation on November 13, 2023, between the city and GDOT, in order to define project funds available through the ARC, through GDOT, to the city of Sandy Springs for preliminary engineering work. It's specifically where those dollars went was to fund at the time concept work and initial survey work associated with the project. Along with that project framework agreement that the city entered into then, the city also entered into a solicitation to compete for the design work associated with that project. We're going to talk about the design contract here in just another agenda item, but that competition, based on the fact that these were federal funds being provided for that design work, had a requirement that we use GDOT-approved qualifications-based solicitation in order to hire and award the contract to the designer at the time, which the city in turn did. Again, next agenda item will explain that a little bit further. The agreement in front of you specifically here tonight adds to those design funds now to the city, federally, the federal 80% match of that, to complete the remainder of the design work anticipated for the project. And we'll talk about that in the subsequent agenda item where we talk specifically about the contract between the city and Heath and Lineback. But in this case, these additional funds requested by the city are required for the project in the amount of $2,224,000. That request was approved by the Atlanta Regional Commission and forwarded to GDOT to in turn forward to the city in the interest of funding completely design as estimated currently to complete the project. So before you is a supplement to that project framework agreement that we originally entered into our contract with GDOT, so to speak, for design funds, to augment that contract now to fully fund the design work anticipated on the contract or for the project.
All right.
With that, recommend that the mayor and council enter into the supplemental project framework agreement.
All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul?
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-019, approval of a supplemental project framework agreement number 1 to the original project framework agreement with Georgia Department of Transportation for the design of the Roswell Road North Boulevard project, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
We have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve agenda item 2026-019, the supplemental project framework agreement number 1 to the original project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for the design of the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project. Any discussion? Dr. Kelly.
Great. I understand that in maybe a few weeks, there's going to be a public open house.
That's correct. The 10th of February.
Okay, great. So there's still room. I just want to make sure that there's still quite a bit of flexibility here in terms of what the project looks like.
There is,
So-
yes, and that's
Okay.
the intention of the open house, is to present the concept plans as developed based on feedback from the prior open houses, and present to the public now the plans based on current knowledge and current approach.
Okay, and your team, I guess maybe separate from the open house, will be talking to the landowners?
We have been.
Okay, and how is that gone, or is there?
We had a meeting back in August, specifically with regard to the traffic signal. We followed up, see if there's any further progress. No progress reported to date from the developer.
Okay, and, okay, I thought I saw something about maybe a meeting, okay. Well, something I do care about is just doing whatever we can to, and I understand if we're at an impasse with the owners, specifically the owners of 9040, but to line the
Right.
intersection.
I don't know that I'd characterize as an impasse.
Okay.
At the meeting, we informed them on what the project could and could not accommodate. We gave them suggestions. They took those suggestions away to research and see if they could transact anything that might make relocated signal more feasible. They have not yet to date done that.
And in your sort of expert opinion, what would be, how much time do they have if they wanted to respond proactively or respond?
Well, there isn't a luxury of a great amount of time since we need to keep a schedule with GDOT as well. In the interest of keeping the project schedule and maintaining our commitment to expend the funds with GDOT as we propose to do.
Okay.
So that's part of the challenge. But it depends on how things develop. Should opportunities arise, we can certainly explore. But we have not seen those opportunities develop yet.
Okay, so do we have, I guess I'll ask specifically, do we have the first half of the year?
Dr. Kelly, I don't know that tonight
Okay.
without looking at the schedule and the
Okay.
specific requirements of the
I'd love to
project delivery
see the
schedule.
schedule, if possible. I'll email you about it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Questions on agenda item 2026-019, a resolution approving the supplemental project framework agreement number 1 to the original project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for the design of the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-20, consideration of a resolution to approve change order 1 for additional scope of work and associated fees from BCC Engineering LLC, doing business as Heath and Lineback Engineers, Inc., for the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project, and to authorize the city manager to execute the revised contract documents, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
All right, Mayor and Council, in this case, where we first talked about the city's contract with the Georgia Department of Transportation regarding this project and design funds associated with it, the PFA and the supplements to it, this agenda item is about an amendment to the contract between the city and Heath and Lineback, BCC in this case, regarding its contract with Heath and Lineback under GDOT purview to execute the project design work in accordance with GDOT's plan delivery process, et cetera, PDP. And to that schedule, as Dr. Kelly referred or mentioned there a couple of moments ago, et cetera. So to that end, the original contract work for survey and concept development services a limited portion of the overall design, was awarded to Heath and Lineback. That award was approved on July 16, 2024. That award came as a result, or the award recommendation then came as a result of a solicitation we conducted for a qualifications-based award to a qualified design consultant to perform the work. Heath and Lineback was the successful offerer as a result of that qualifications-based selection. The city then negotiated with Heath and Lineback at the time to determine the cost for the survey work and the concept work associated with it. That's what we awarded in that earlier dollar amount of $1,149,303. Subsequent to that, as the project has advanced, we now have far greater clarity on what's required in the project. Concept development has been undertaken, as well as got better understanding of any environmental constraints, requirements, et cetera, associated with the work. We're also better able to define the scope of services required for the consultant to complete the design work at this time. And that would be preliminary plans, preliminary public information, open house, right-of-way plans, final construction plans, and construction services. So with those services and tasks more clearly defined now, and in consonance with the fact that our estimate and funding availability has now been confirmed through ARC and through GDOT with the supplemental PFA you saw just a moment ago, we're now in the position to recommend a contract change order, which truly is the award of additional task orders to the consultant chosen through that qualifications-based selection process to complete the project. And this would be full funding to take the project through to construction services. With that, staff recommends award of the contract change order with Heath and Lineback.
Mr. Martin, I've got a question. GDOT's expecting to let this in 2029, February, so 3 years from now before they start even letting the contract?
That's the scheduled construction let. Yes, sir.
Okay, so this project's 3.5 years away from construction, at least. Okay. All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-020, approval of a change order or change order number 1 for additional scope of work and associated fees from BCC Engineering, doing business as Heath and Lineback Engineers Incorporated for the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project, and to authorize the city manager to execute revised contract documents.
We have a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paulson. Any discussion? Dr. Kelly is the maker of the motion.
I'm good.
So Marty, I know that a lot of these are kind of related as we flip through the rest of the agenda.
Building sequentially.
Kind of
right
building
now.
on it.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
this is just funding. This is not saying what is in or out of scope. Is that correct? Or I guess
This is the contract scope.
Okay.
with
So
Heath and Lineback
what in
Industries.
this has any bearing on the one that's coming up on Roberts Drive? Because when you look at that diagram, it does show there's a spur that GDOT looks like will be building, and it looks like that'll be on the north side. So what will happen when we approve this? Is that what's going to happen?
All right. So timing is everything. All right. So on that public information open house scheduled for February the 10th, the latest, most current version of the concept plan will be shared with the public for public comment, public feedback, et cetera. This work coming in advance of that. That concept plan shows a sidewalk only, not a side path. So I understand Mr. Huffner's question from public comment period. Earlier plans, as presented, showed a side path there. Shows a sidewalk only on Roswell Drive, or Roberts Drive, extending from Roswell Road down Roberts Drive. Shows no side path there. So there's a clarification that will be demonstrated and then codified and legitimized, confirmed in that public information open house.
And that's on the north side, not on the south side, is
That's
that right?
correct, a sidewalk.
Off of Roswell Road. Is there, I can't remember if there's a sidewalk on the south side right now.
There is not.
There is not, okay.
So, sorry, back to, you also had frustration that was voiced, and appreciably so. We haven't gotten the new concept plan out there yet by virtue of the open house, which is customarily where we do it so that we can share all information and gather all comments all at once. That's where we plan to and intend to share all of that information regarding the project, sidewalk locations, side path locations, all of those things. So, and again, as I know it, as I've seen it, Roberts Drive receives only a sidewalk on the north side.
And only for that little part that was on the diagram, as
Correct.
far as,
Only for
and that
that
will
little
carry
part.
forward to the public
Yes, ma'am.
meeting.
It does not go
Okay.
to a different project anywhere else right now.
Okay, thank
No,
you.
ma'am. All right, so.
Mayor Paul.
Go ahead.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Paulson.
Marty, not done yet, buddy.
Not done.
So-
Good enough. Keep going.
You and I have been talking for years about sidewalk, side path, north side, south side. Nobody's interested in the sidewalk or side path on the north side of Roberts. And if that's not been made clear, we can continue to make it clear. This project, however, is only about 100 feet off of Roswell Road, which is really just to accommodate that little change in how you exit Roberts Drive. At least that's what the sketch showed. So that's really the whole purpose of this GDOT project, is to fix that intersection, and nothing that we decide here or gets decided here, does that have any bearing on what happens to the rest of Roberts Drive as we go east?
Correct.
Okay, good. Let's make.
No, that's a function of the concept or the PIOH open house. We get the comments in, we hear what the public has to say, and we make recommendations on advancing the project from there.
Well, I'm going to give you a hint. They're not going to be in favor of a sidewalk on the north side of Roberts Drive. So, but I look forward to the meeting on the 10th. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Dr. Kelly.
I have a question about the just the 2.7 million that we're being asked to approve. Is it customary to not rebid this? Is it customary to kind of go with a change order in this type of situation?
In this case, yes. It's subsequent award of the task order, so there isn't a change
Okay.
to the scope, the nature of the project. There's a continuation of the project. They've gone through concept and survey. We're now at the point it's time to move the project to preliminary. So I believe yes is the answer to is this customary.
And
ARC and GDOT have both reviewed, here's where we are, here's where we're headed.
Okay.
They've supported it, they've sent the money.
Okay.
So.
And the 2.7 million does fall within our estimate of what it should cost
Correct.
for. Okay.
Supported by the dollars of it. And plus, we had the opportunity and did negotiate the fees, the cost associated with this $2.7 million here in this change order. So Ethan Lineback said, here's what we believe we need to do. Here's the level of effort required. Here are our prices. As you know them, here's what we propose to do. And we reviewed that negotiation and settled on an agreed scope and fee for this. That's what this is the result of here.
Mr. Martin, would it be fair to say that when the original bid was made, there were a lot of details that they did not
Yes.
have?
And as we talk tonight, we're still talking possible adjustments to details as we move
So
forward.
as GDOT gave us more information on their
Right.
plans, we are now adjusting the contract that was awarded. And at the time of the award, it was anticipated that these changes would occur. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
we expect further changes as the project advances. So that's the life of a major federal project.
Mr. Chinsky?
My question was asked and answered, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-020, a resolution to approve change order number 1 for additional scope of work and associated fees from BBC Engineering doing business as Heath and Lineback Engineers for the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project, and authorizing city manager to execute the revised documents. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2026-021, consideration of a resolution to authorize the submission of an infrastructure and capital investment application for the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Project solicitation and make a commitment to local funding match. This is presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
All right, Mayor and Council, in one breath, it seems like it's all things North End Boulevard tonight, and the other is now the next four items are all about the city's submission for Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP application. This is effectively a biennial call. To that end, along with that call, we expect, as forecasted by the Atlanta Regional Commission, that we would get feedback on which of these proposals, if any, are accepted by as early as July. I've seen it take as late as November and December in years past in the cycle. I believe last 2-year cycle we were closer to November, December before we got final answer on it. So as we answer the call now, due here in a few days, we won't expect a response till at the earliest July is what we believe. And a part of applying for dollars through the ARC for TIP, for instance, and specifically to the North End Boulevard project, looking at the overall cost estimates for all of the improvements contemplated with the North End Boulevard project, we early on did some city-unique concept studies and then submitted those studies to the Georgia Department of Transportation. The GDOT, especially given the safety improvements, enhancements offered by the North End Boulevard project, plus the project's pretty sound basis in our comprehensive plan and the Next 10 plan, supported that plan. Along with that, we effectively were enrolled in, with those first monies we received, the project delivery system. We received a project identification number, et cetera, which means we now were enrolled in GDOT's PDP process as well. That meant that we were eligible for receipt of federal funds for the project. And as you see this application here in front of you tonight, we've been successful, very successful thus far on this particular project with support from the Atlanta Regional Commission and GDOT in receiving federal funds to the tune of an 80-20 match, local match, in support of this project. So this, what is contemplated to be the final ask of ARC tonight is, are those funds anticipated for construction? And in this case, with an estimate of somewhere in the amount of $16,530,000 for construction of the project, we would ask for $13,224,000, the 80% portion that the federal government could potentially reimburse on this project, with a city local match commitment of some $3,306,000 as the local match requirement that is available in the T-SPLOST account specifically established for this project. So in this case, should all these things come to pass, a good news story on being able to pursue federal funds to augment our programs with the amount of support that the Atlanta Regional Commission and GDOT has been able to provide to us for this important project. So with that, we propose that our first ask for tonight in the TIP application is this $13,224,000 via this application for the construction portion of the project, looking ahead to a future year. Mayor, as you noted, the construction let date out in the future, so that money's there and available within ARC's programs when the time comes to construct.
All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Dr. Kelly.
I move approval of Agenda Item 2026-021, a resolution to authorize the submission of an infrastructure and capital investment application for the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation and make a commitment to a local funding match.
Got a motion by Dr. Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve Agenda Item 2026-021, a resolution authorizing submission of an infrastructure and capital investment application for the Roswell Road North End Boulevard project to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Solicitation Program. Any discussion? Ms. Mueller.
So, Marty, I guess we're going to be talking a lot tonight as we go through this. Anyway, Can you confirm that this grant application will be alignment neutral for whatever happens down the road on Roberts Drive?
Yes.
So we're not going to be set into whatever is put forth in this grant program?
That's correct. We still need to meet the scope and intent of the North End Boulevard project, which is the boulevard, its access management, et cetera. To the fine points about what the project outlined, we've got a beginning and an end point with this project that we've defined to GDOT and the ARC. Logical termini is what they're, and we have work between those logical termini. So the very fine point details, which I think sidewalk, side path becomes a very fine point detail, I don't think have a bearing on our consistency with our application for construction funds. They may well change the cost. We may have to adjust up, adjust down, whatever the case might be as time goes by. But I don't see where that would be a compliance issue.
But it's not going to bind the location, whether it's on the north side or south side?
Not at a concept level design. I do not believe so. No, ma'am.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-021, resolution authorizing submission of an infrastructure and capital investment application for Roswell Road North End Boulevard project to the Atlanta Regional Commission for 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-22. Consideration of resolution to authorize the submission of a grant application to the 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation to fund a concept development study of improvements to Northside Drive between Interstate North Parkway and new Northside Drive, and to make a commitment of local funding match, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Right, Mayor and Council, much to the overall process and approach we use from early efforts to seek federal funding with the North End Boulevard project. This project, this study, has its roots in the Powers Ferry transportation study. All right, and so with that said, in the Powers Ferry transportation study, there was this side path plus other improvements envisioned to render that side path in and along that Powers Ferry transportation study. Our ask of the Atlanta Regional Commission here is to enroll us. Let's get in with concept dollars now, potentially get this initial project identification number, et cetera, and see if we can advance this project to become eligible for future federal funds, companion with local funds, whatever the case might be, to pursue works over there, specifically the side path. But if I look at all improvements contemplated, associated with this end of Powers Ferry, the numbers right now tally my estimate somewhere around $5.5 to $6 million worth of overall improvements. The $1 million, as scoped by one of our project managers, includes survey work, it includes project studies, includes much of the work that would be looked upon to seek ARC and GDOT further support and endorsement of the project. So that's why our ask tonight for this initial concept study work, to get the door open, to get the work started here, and to see if we can gain ARC and GDOT support for this project. That's this project, and that's why our ask tonight.
Okay. You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Chinsky.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-022, consideration of a resolution to authorize the submission of a grant application to the 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation to fund a concept development study of improvements to Northside Drive between Interstate North Parkway and new Northside Drive, and to make a commitment of local funding match.
A motion by Mr. Chinsky. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chinsky. I think Dr. Kelly, or was it Ms. Mueller got in first? Ms. Mueller. That we approve agenda item 2026-022, resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the 2026 Transportation Improvement Solicitation to fund a concept development study of improvements to Northside Drive between Interstate and North Parkway and a new Northside Drive, and make a commitment for local funding. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Chinsky.
Some excitement moving to the south side of the city. So, Marty, I have a few questions just to try to understand where we are in the process. So you referenced the Powers Ferry transportation study. We've already, or study already done. So am I correct, this is also just the study, this is just going to be for a study? It's a
That's correct.
$1.1 million for a study?
So no construction, no execution, with a estimated potential overall cost of $5.5 to $6 million. As we look at some of the other requirements identified associated with this work in the Powers Ferry study, this is just about concept study and getting early design work started on the project.
So is the reason we need this study, in addition to the previous studies that have been done, will this set us up to get additional federal money down the road?
That's our intention, yes, sir.
What's the timeline for when all of this might be able to happen?
Well, first, as I mentioned, we find out from ARC if they can support this right now with study funds. We find that out as early as July, maybe later this year. Then from there, there's the mechanics of entering into framework agreements, potentially with GDOT, et cetera, to get the ball rolling. So that takes some time. Reality is, with a federally funded project, I think you're looking at generally around 5 years from initial dollars to execution. That's assuming right-of-way, utilities, those kinds of things that are challenges go well, and that we find no environmental challenges out there. And that's the other thing that's important with a study like this, is to do the environmental screening associated with this effort, which wasn't done in something fairly quick and broad-brushed like the Powers Ferry area study.
So how does this fit in with the city's broader master sidewalk plan and scoring? So, for example, there's a large hill from the traffic circle we constructed at Old Powers Ferry and North Side that will come down to where this side path will hopefully be, which ultimately can connect those residents to the Chattahoochee River nature area, which is life-changing, quite frankly, for hundreds or maybe thousands of people. So is looking at that sidewalk down the hill something that we could prioritize, knowing that this may be coming in 5 years? Like, how would that fit in with the scoring system we already have in place?
It could potentially impact it. The project, that specific project, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to take a look at this sidewalk scoring list as yet. It doesn't score very highly in comparison to all other projects.
I'm aware.
Right now.
Yeah.
It's like $48 million down the list. And that's by virtue of the scoring criteria that we've established as part of policy right now. Connectivity could help, certainly. That's one, but it's a very expensive project. That's one of the challenges with it for that particular amount of ground it gains there. But this project does build that network that sidewalk project could ultimately connect to. Another part of that network, for instance, on Dupree, not quite the same location, I understand, but there is north-south connectivity there currently. We built that project in the sidewalk program several years ago now. So we do have that as a start. But that's how it connects. There is some related gap fill consideration, et cetera, as something does come to fruition here along the way. So that would be that's where I think we are right now.
All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I have a question.
Ms. Mueller.
So Marty, this applies to this, but the other tips tonight. What's the fallback plan if we wouldn't get the money from the ARC?
We look for dollars and other programs available.
Okay.
We consider T-SPLOST, next tranche, so, et cetera, or local funds, or other funding sources as they might come available. So this seemed to be a logical study that we could get ARC support on. We'll see how that goes.
It's the first step in the process of getting approved by ARC. You've got to have a study that shows answers all their questions that they have to ask or answer to GDOT and to Federal Highway Administration. So,
but to more detail on that, we look at all the available pots of money as their requirements shift, and they have shifted over time. What's a good candidate within our overall transportation program that might fit those requirements as specified in those particular funding pots as we go through? So that's a constant scan we're doing as the requirements change, and we update our transportation plans as well to see where we might find a fit to seek additional funds against our program.
Mayor Paul?
Mr. Paulson.
You brought up a question in my mind. So this submission to ARC, when will we know? Because we have to build the T-SPLOST recommended list of projects this year, and I don't want to rely on this to happen, and we don't put this in the T-SPLOST, then we don't get this, but T-SPLOST doesn't address it. timing-wise, are we in sync regarding knowing what ARC is going to do here?
We're close.
before Go ahead.
Close. So July for this. May is when we need to come in with a T-SPLOST proposed program. We can create some flexibility, and we've done that in years past with T-SPLOST programs. Like not to do too much flexibility because we want to give the voters clarity on what's in the T-SPLOST program, of course, but we can create some flexibility like we did in the very first one where we defined an intersection program and then defined candidate projects for that. So, but again, back to fidelity with the voters, we try to be as clear as we can, and T-SPLOST as well, so they understand what improvements they're actually voting on.
Mr. Paulson, you may recall that we have had situations before where federal funding came available when we had T-SPLOST projects and we used the federal funds, because that then frees up T-SPLOST to shift to other projects. So there's no reason why we can't do both while we're in this limbo period, and then we'll make adjustments based on what how that reality evolves. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-022, a resolution authorizing the submission of grant application for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation to fund a concept development study of improvements to Northside Drive between Interstate North Parkway and New Northside Drive, and make a commitment of local funding match. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-23. Consideration of a resolution to authorize the submission of a grant application to produce a concept development study for Peachtree Dunwoody Road improvements between Abernathy Road and Spalding Drive to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation, and to make a commitment of local funding match. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin, the busiest man in Sandy Springs tonight.
I feel like it right now. Thank you, Mayor. So on to another study. Supported and based in studies we'd conducted previously. In this case, again, a study request that we propose to take to ARC. This one for Peachtree Dunwoody Road improvements between Abernathy Road and Spalding Drive. Okay, so in our 2021 Transportation Master Plan update, we envisioned work on this corridor, on Peachtree Dunwoody in this location. In further support of the study in the area, in February 2025, we completed the North Springs MARTA corridor study, again exploring in more detail specifically what improvements centered around the North Springs MARTA station might be envisioned here. One more thing I would add as we talk about this is if you paint a mental picture of where we are with Path 400 as we build it from the Atlanta city limit up to I-285 and 400, we now have the funds to do that, then take that path through the I-285-400 interchange. We now have PCID funded, or 50-50 split in this case, Peachtree Dunwoody Road trail improvement that we've got active now in design that will take side path improvements from that 285-400 interchange up Peachtree Dunwoody Road, hopefully, as we advance things, all the way up to the Mount Vernon Highway portion of that. This project here takes one look at what might be a possible extension of those significant improvements and investments we've made from the south of the city all the way up into the perimeter, now extending northward up to North Springs MARTA Station and beyond up to Spalding. So that's, again, kind of a greater context. What about paths, et cetera, and connectivity? Very specific to MARTA, as that MARTA study pointed out, here's what we would look at a path doing right there. But then in a greater context, here again is this big line, this major regional improvement we're trying to, again, extend upon here in the city of Sandy Springs. So it's with those things in mind that we believe this would be a good candidate to submit to ARC at this point, to seek funding to get the initial concept work underway. Again, let's get this project eligible potentially for future federal funding opportunities.
All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Roberts.
A motion to approve agenda item 2026-23 023 for consideration to approve a resolution to authorize the submission of a grant application to produce a concept development study for Peachtree Dunwoody Road improvements between Abernathy Road and Spalding Drive to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation and make a commitment of local funding match.
Have a motion by Mr. Roberts. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by, is that Ms. Mueller?
Ms. Mueller, yep.
All right. Seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve agenda item 2026-023, a resolution authorizing submission of a grant application to produce a concept development study for Peachtree Dunwoody Road improvements between Abernathy and Spalding Drive to the ARC for the 2026 Transportation Improvement Solicitation. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-023, a resolution authorizing submission of a grant application to produce a concept development study for Peachtree Dunwoody Road improvements between Abernathy and Spalding to the ARC for the 26th Transportation Solicitation. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-24, consideration of a resolution to authorize the submission of a Roberts Drive Side Path Phase 1 Infrastructure and Capital Investment Grant application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2024 Transportation Improvement Project solicitation and make a commitment of local funding match, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
All right, Mayor and Council, in this final TIP application recommendation that we make before you tonight, and Mayor, as you mentioned, maybe busiest man in Sandy Springs tonight, but two of the very hard workers that helped pull all of this together in the audience tonight, taking copious notes on concerns, notes, future, what do we need to do next as we complete these applications and get this work into ARC. So with this, the ARC and GDOT have supported us with a design fund match already on the design of the Roberts Drive Side Path Phase 1 only project that would extend side path from Dunwoody Place up to the entrance to Island Ford Park and the recreation area. As those of you that are familiar with the area, that stretch of Roberts Drive, you'll note that when GDOT constructed the new Roberts Drive Bridge over Georgia 400, as a part of the agreements we entered into with GDOT at the time, they built the side path improvements for us on the bridge at the time, and we contributed monies. That's how they ended up building it for us as a part of that. Along with that work, to include the work on the bridge, as GDOT adjusted that or installed that bridge, they also constructed a limited degree of side path in and around the Pride Place intersection with Roberts Drive. You'll see those amenities there already as they adjusted and realigned the intersection there. There are some sight distance issues there already, so GDOT made those corrections as well to include adding a turn lane at the time on Roberts Drive to accommodate traffic concerns we had there with the operations and safety of the intersection. The project Phase 1 completes a side path all the way to the entry of Island Ford back to Dunwoody Place. So with that tonight, we propose that we ask for the construction and utilities funds, that work needed to complete the project, in the amount of some overall funding of $2.25 million, not necessarily a very expensive federal project, all things considered. The federal portion of that would be $1.8 million, with some $450,000 being the expected local match on the part of the city of Sandy Springs. We do have in T-SPLOST 2021, the one in front of us right now, funds allocated against the Roberts Drive Side Path project. They're available to support the local match for these construction funds we're talking about tonight.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I request approval of agenda item 2026-24, resolution to authorize the submission of a Roberts Drive Side Path Phase 1 Infrastructure and Capital Investment Grant application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2024 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation, make a commitment of local funding match.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Dr. Kelly, That we approve agenda item 2026-024, a resolution to authorize submission of Roberts Drive Side Path Phase 1 Infrastructure and Capital Investment Grant application for the Atlanta Regional Commission for the 2024 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Thank you very much for including the mid-block crossing so that those folks in summer places, they can cross to get on the south side to go west on Roberts. This is maybe a topic that's part of this conversation, part of this project, but I've had people tell me when people are coming west on Roberts and going over the bridge, that the street Pride Place is right there, and a lot of times these folks are getting caught unawares because the bridge is high enough that the line of sight isn't very good coming from east to west. So as part of this project, can we figure out a way to signalize that so that the people pulling out from Pride Place know if a car is coming, or is that a separate scope issue?
So Dr. Kelly identified the very same challenge months ago now. So we're
a little late getting to the party, but we still want to bring it up. Okay?
It's an important party to be in here. So safety is important at this intersection. One, we believe, the project itself, as we fully execute and implement the thing, I think that's going to help it's driver awareness, especially as you head eastbound over 400 back toward the intersection on the other side of the bridge at Pride Place. So driver awareness there is and that's why those drivers headed toward Dunwoody Place sometime are not as attentive as they need to be, maybe go a little too fast as they get to that intersection. But then it's as well, what can we do to help the drivers exiting Pride Place, making turns either left or right there, help them with that. So that's as well something it would not be as signalized, I think.
Even a flashing light that says somebody is coming
correct.
from the
There's
from
some
the west,
other
from the
tactics
east.
and strategies we can look at. So it wouldn't be a stop and go signal is what I'd envision because of warrants and traffic studies, but we could look at warnings, and we have.
Can we put that into this project? We're already asking for money for it. Let's have them fund it.
It depends on what the grant criteria are. It may or may not.
Okay.
We don't want to mess up
We've
the
got
application.
wherewithal in other accounts to pursue something like that. So
Okay.
I hear you. Why not? If you're gonna pick up dinner anyhow, why not the dessert while you're at it? So yes, sir. Understand. But we do have other accounts, even if we can't through this scope because it's traffic.
We have to see what the feds will fund. So I think we can get a commitment to come up with a solution, but whether it'll be as part of this grant application may be something else.
But we do know the concerns there. We're not ignorant of it nor blind to it right now. We know it's there and we need to do something about it.
Any other discussion? Ms. Mueller?
So, broken record here. I'm going to ask again for this particular one. This is not going to bind. This is just for phase one, so it doesn't matter about phase two at all.
The application is only about phase one.
Okay. So I don't know if it's appropriate to ask this question, but as far as phase two, is that kind of just sitting on the blocks right now? And when do we pick that back up again? And do we know that?
At the council's will. All right, so right now, we've completed the studies as contracted with the consultant that performed those studies. They're done. They receive feedback, et cetera. That study's done. We've stopped any further advancement of phase two. And should we look to revive, we're looking at a phase two project, much like the phase one project now, when we go to pursue further.
And then when we had I think was the public open house on that, was up at the school in October 2024. Did we ever get a readout back of what the feedback was on that from the residents that attended?
I think
Didn't we?
I think we have a consolidation of all comments.
Would you recirculate that? Because Melissa asked me that earlier. I couldn't remember.
Okay.
We talked about it. I never saw anything.
I thought we had all the comments recorded from the last open house we had.
And that would be
But I'll
good for the new
double-check.
council
Well,
members
they got to
too.
be part of the record, so they're somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, so that would be good to have that. And then I guess when we pick this back up, it'll be its own like sub-project and go through the normal public
This
open
being
house,
the
et cetera.
phase- Yes, ma'am. So it'd be another project for consideration. We'd have a concept study that's completed, as the research we did into it at the time to reference, just like we've referenced these other studies here for the night for the other projects, be it Powers Ferry area study or the Peachtree Dunwoody study. Here are the other studies, and here's what was found in those studies when we referenced those.
Yeah. And a lot of that study was a desktop study, so I would think that then the next iteration would be more in the field study versus
Right.
more
No
desktop.
no surveyors on the ground taking measures, et cetera, were conducted as a part of that
Yeah.
initial
Okay.
Roberts Side path.
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Marty, looks like you went through our files and found everything that might qualify, and you're throwing it out there, aren't you?
That could be happening, but we hate for ARC to think we don't care.
Right, well, you
Right,
don't
so-
ask, you don't get.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly. So,
All right.
so there's the philosophy underneath that. We'd like
Yeah,
to ask. and
you
see if
know,
they can
some of this
support
stuff, in other words, may not happen, but you don't get it if you don't ask for it. And the good news is ARC loves communities that can do the match. And we've been able to do the match. So we've been very good at getting ARC money as a result of having resources that they know will be at the table when they get ready to execute these projects. So that inures in our benefit. All right. I know, I'm about to. If there's no further questions, I'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-024, a resolution authorizing the submission of a Roberts Drive Side Path Phase 1 Infrastructure and Capital Investment Grant application to ARC for the 2024 Transportation Improvement Program solicitation and make a commitment of local funding match. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to reports. Well, we got a couple of things that's going on. One, we had a great Martin Luther King holiday event here. I want to say thanks to the staff who worked on that. Phenomenal. I think probably the largest crowd we've had. I know that this room was full a little after 1 when we started the movie. I mean, there was not a seat available. I wasn't here for the 2:30, but and then at the stations outside, really good program for families. And they took advantage of it. I was a little worried about 10 minutes to 1. There was hardly anybody here, and then it was like poof. They all just showed up at once. So it was great. It was a great event. Some of us are planning to go to the Georgia Municipal Association's Cities United this weekend. And I say planning in parentheses because I'm going to ask the city manager to talk to us a little bit about, I know we're a little early yet, but we're anticipating some bad weather. I know GMA was having a meeting this afternoon to assess what would happen to the Cities United meeting if we do have bad weather. And so, City Manager, can you update us on what you know, at least at this point, knowing that we're still some distance away?
Sure thing. Thank you, Mayor. So we are actively watching the system that has rapidly become a very large system that has potential to have significant impacts here and further up into the eastern seaboard. Obviously, I do not want to raise alarm. I do not want to worry folks. I do not want there to be panic going on. However, this is a different storm than what we are typically used to. Last year, Winter Storm Cora saw some nice fluffy snow, and we were able to actually plow snow for the first time in Sandy Springs. If this storm comes about the way that it is forecasted to, we will not be doing any of that. In fact, we will be lucky for folks to be able to get out of their homes because one of the models most recently is calling for anywhere from a ½ inch of ice to 3 inches of ice. Furthermore, the temperatures will not be warming up enough on Sunday and Monday to have significant thawing. The storm is currently forecasted to impact our area midday on Saturday into the evening. Obviously, we have a performance planned in the Performing Arts Center on Saturday night, so we are also coordinating to see if that needs to be rescheduled. But the bottom line right now is that we are simply too early for me to tell you with any great confidence what we are going to have. What I can tell you is that we have already begun our interdepartmental coordination efforts. Fire department was testing all of their chainsaws, making sure they had enough fuel and oil to be able to use them, because if we get more than a ½ inch of ice, there will be trees that will be falling. I have also already reached out to Georgia Power to confirm that they are preparing, and our representative assures me that they did have a coordinating call today. They will be sending out a communication to all of their stakeholders tomorrow, which we will share that with you all. Please encourage your networks to have folks sign up for our Everbridge alerts. Go to sandyspringsga.gov and register for our alerts. That will be what we use to directly alert folks, but we will also, assuming that this does hit and that we do activate our Emergency Operations Center, we will send out periodic updates to council so that you all will be able to communicate with folks. I anticipate convening our emergency operations team later this week once we have a little bit more certainty on what the winter weather will look like. But in the meantime, folks can begin to plan ahead and think about stockpiling things in their home to make sure they have flashlights, batteries. If you have alternate heat sources, please make sure you get those in your house.
Yeah, 3 inches of ice. I think that I cannot ever recall that we would get that much ice.
Me neither.
And if we get 3 inches of ice, that means power lines are going to be down, trees will be falling in large numbers. They can't handle that much weight. We've all been around here long enough to know that sometimes it looks worse at this end than it does at the other end. But I think it's very important that we all plan for the worst and hope for the best. The biggest challenge is going to be preparing to be without electricity at a time when it's going to be very cold, and making sure that you have the ability to stay warm if you don't have electricity. So that means blankets, quilts, just take every precaution on the front end right now to make sure that you have the ability to withstand a few days, possibly, of being without electricity. And I emphasize days, because you have that much ice. There are going to be power lines down all over the place, and it's going to take a while for Georgia Power to get everything restored. So we have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. It's better to be prepared, and as I've always said, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So go to extraordinary lengths to make sure you have the supplies, resources, and more importantly, the ability to stay warm in what's going to be some pretty frigid temperatures and conditions. The police department, fire department, I know, will be out looking for our homeless folks to make sure that we can try and make sure they're secure. Our police department and fire do a great job in times like this to make sure those people who are on the street are checked on and taken care of to the fullest extent that we can. But this one has the potential to be really as bad as we've seen in a while, but we are hoping that things can, as I say, the weather forecasters like to make it appear pretty bad on the front end, but from everything we can see right now, they don't seem to be exaggerating too much. So have your neighbors, your friends, your families be fully prepared for an extended period without electricity and take precautions accordingly. Any other council
Mayor
reports?
Paul?
Yeah.
I'd like to
Porter.
thank staff for all of their efforts in planning and executing the renaming of Windsor Meadows Park to Tibby DiGiulio Park. That was actually a brilliantly sunny and beautiful day for such a ceremony. So I know he appreciated it, and thank you all for making that happen for him.
Yeah, that's great. Great. Anybody else? Dr. Kelly.
Okay, so, all right. On Friday, I'm excited. You mentioned the Georgia Municipal Association's conference, but on Friday, Councilwoman Mueller and myself are going to be taking a 6-hour training, a brand new training that they have on addressing homelessness. So I look forward to the new classes are always amazing because a lot of the people who have been on city council forever take the new classes. And so you just have this wealth of knowledge and wisdom in the room. And then I'm going to have my colleague there, so I'm excited about that. And that'll be before the storm in theory, so we should be fine.
Yeah. There's a lot of focus on homelessness. The governor just put in $50 million in homeless grants into his proposed budget. That's the first allocation of state funds for something that's been left almost totally to local governments. So I was very appreciative of his being willing to do that to help us deal with some of the challenges of homelessness. So it's a recognition by the state that this is a real problem that we at local governments are facing. And so there's some money going into it, and GMA is taking advantage of this new focus to help us learn how to better manage some of these challenges.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm glad you're attending.
Madam City Manager, I'm sorry if you mentioned this. Did you mention warming stations possibly?
Unfortunately, we do not have like a gym that would be available
Okay.
just for overnight sheltering. We are in the process of reaching out to some of our religious partner institutions who may have an assembly hall that might be available.
Okay.
I'll know more about that, and we'll include that in our messaging that we send out to y'all later this week.
Okay.
Obviously, if we are here and we have staffing at the front desk, the lobby of City Hall would be available, but we would not be able to have shelter services.
The challenge is going to be transporting people.
Yeah.
That's going to be the real problem, particularly if they're stuck out once that ice hits. Getting to them and getting them, so to the extent that we can get them sheltered. During Snowmageddon, we were very lucky to have a number of our churches and synagogues open their doors to people who were stranded on 285. And I spent a lot of my time talking to ministers, rabbis, other folks, even Kroger down here took in kids that were stuck on a school bus. A bunch of kids sleeping in a Kroger was kind of interesting. But we'll be out trying to encourage our local nonprofits to be involved in helping us deal with some of these challenges.
And as of right now, our messaging is get to where you need to be by midday Saturday and stay there.
Get there before then, because when Snowmageddon hit, I was told it
Yeah.
wasn't going to start until 3 o'clock, and
I remember.
11 o'clock, I'm stuck on downtown Connector. So, don't wait to the last minute. Get it done. All right.
Okay, I still had a couple things.
Okay.
All right. A couple days ago, earlier last week, the Inspire Brands corporate, they invited and acknowledged our members of our Juneteenth Planning Committee. Their annual MLK Day event included a dialogue with their CEO, Paul Brown. And I just want to give a quick kudos to those who were able to attend. I wasn't able to attend, but it was great that we're being recognized. Also, MLK Day, I was invited and honored to attend the city of Brookhaven's 10-year, they did a really special thing for their Linwood Park historic community. And it was just great to be in the room. And I appreciate that we have these different types of events, whereas during the day, family friendly, you can come to Sandy Springs, have a great time with the kids. And then, for example, City of Brookhaven had like a dinner at night that featured a keynote speaker. So it's great to have that menu of options available. Thank you.
Any others? All right. We don't need an executive session tonight. So we're down to, I normally call for Mr. DiGiulio at this point, but he's not here.
Financials.
So.
Financial
Oh, you need a report? Okay, I'm sorry.
Tony.
I have a report.
Okay, financial. Tony, why do I always forget you? I don't know.
I know it.
You're the most important person over there.
Okay, for purposes of our new council members, I'm going to walk through the financial report tonight so they'll understand what the package is made up of. So this is the review for the November 2025 unaudited financials. On page 1, you'll see a summary of our revenues. We consider these our core revenues. Also a highlighted area at the top to talk about our revenues and expenditures. We are at 41.67% of the fiscal year. Revenues are at 63.45%. And expenditures are at 37.23% of the budget. On page 2, you'll see the bank account balances as of 11/30/2025. This lists all of the accounts that we have here at the city. Pages 3 through 5 shows a 3-year view of interest earnings in the Georgia Fund 1 accounts and the Truist Bank account. Go to page 6. Also, there are lovely pictures, graphs there for you. On page 6, we provide a 5-year trend of local option sales taxes, also with lovely graphics. Pages 7 through 8 provide line item details for the revenues received for the fiscal year. The first line indicates we've achieved 100% of the budgeted property taxes for the fiscal year. Again, we've achieved 63.45% of the budget revenues, and you'll see that on page 8.
All right, any questions of the Chief Financial Officer? Oh, you got another one? You got more pages? All right, keep going.
Pages 9 through 28 are the general fund expenditures by department. All departments are operating within approved budgets, and we're at 37.23% of the budgeted expenditures shown on page 28. And pages 29 through 54 covers our special revenues, capital projects, debt services, and enterprise funds for your review. And that concludes the report for November 2025.
Good job. Tony, I didn't mean to rush you or anything.
That's okay. We're all ready to go home.
I'm just not, I know we get all this data, but I appreciate it. All right. Anything else from anybody?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move adjournment.
Mr. Paulson moves adjournment. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Roberts. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned. That was historical movement.